Ukraine is furious because Elon Musk's SpaceX is restricting access to their Starlink services. If we roll back the clock, after being asked for assistance, Elon Musk provided free Starlink access to Ukraine about a year ago, which Ukraine grew very dependent on very quickly. Its other internet services became unavailable because of war damage, power outages, and so on. And now SpaceX is restricting specific uses of their equipment, for instance making it so that Ukraine can't use it to pilot its drones, saying that Starlink was never meant to be weaponized and that Ukraine leveraged it in unintentional ways that were not part of any agreement. Because obviously SpaceX doesn't want to be seen as someone who's enabling war and the use of these deadly weapons. Let me know what you think about the situation in the comments, who is in the right, who is in the wrong, and please follow for more tech news. So in the further discussion of this topic, I am purely going to be focusing on SpaceX and Starlink and how this will affect them, and I'm not going to be going into the whole political side of things, because you have many people that say we should send all the weapons we have to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. You have other people that say, hey, maybe we shouldn't send all these weapons of mass destruction like tanks to Ukraine, maybe we should slow down, stuff like that. So I'm not going to be going into that. I'm just going to be covering what exactly is the issue with SpaceX, with Ukraine, and why this is happening. So SpaceX is a very hopeful company, right? Like, they say we are going to be living among the stars one day, we are going to be going to Mars. Here is Starlink, a technology that is going to enable a lot of people across the world to have an internet connection, when otherwise they might have not have had internet at all, just because of how their geographical location might be. There might not be any telecommunication equipment in that area. So they're a very hopeful company. They help out with Starlink in various natural disasters. Obviously, they rolled out Starlink in Ukraine about a year ago, free of charge. So, you know, they're a pretty good company. So it's a pretty big issue if all of a sudden you would have a headline like a Starlink-enabled drone from Ukraine carries a few missiles and it basically killed a few hundred Russian soldiers. That is not something they would want to be associated with. So they are basically restricting access, making it so that Ukraine, mostly their military, just can't pilot drones, so they're not able to do this stuff. But the big problem is that Ukraine, along with their military, has grown very dependent on Starlink because there's just not much other infrastructure available. A lot of the telecommunication equipment has gone down just because of all the war damage that Russia has caused, just because of all the power outages and everything like that. So it's a pretty major issue for the Russian military if all of a sudden you can't use Starlink to pilot your drones that might be giving you most of the surveillance that you might have. So it's a pretty tough issue. Obviously, you can see why SpaceX, why Elon Musk, why Starlink does not want to be seen in this sort of a way. But at the same time, when you give someone an ability to do something and then you try to take it away, that is obviously pretty hard. So I don't know, obviously I can see both sides. Like, SpaceX doesn't want to be associated with this, whereas Ukraine is like, hey, we really actually depend on this. Our military has just sort of grown around this. So it's a big issue. I don't know what else to say about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. But yeah, this is just unfortunately the world that we live in at the moment.